Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in amma ba'd. So moving on to my topic for today. By the way, my name is Sayyid Laman Tanveer. I have been part of the Muslim Association for a while now. We as Muslims, it's just something that's come under my observations. Most of us do not really understand our history. And now before people kind of like start saying, oh, what are you talking about? What I'm trying to say is that our understanding of Islamic history, it starts from the time of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and goes all the way up to the Sahaba or till the end of the Rashidun Caliphate. And most of us don't understand or know or go into detail about what happened after that has led to the point that we are living and standing in right now. I mean, that's a period of 1300 years, more than 1300 years that we have not covered, and that we don't understand. I mean, we do know the scholars that came, we know the works, that affected the fiqh and aqidah, but we don't really understand in terms of geopolitics, the players that came in, the factions that existed, the nations that existed, the empires that existed, the wars that were fought, and all those decisions, it's kind of like, how we say we stand on shoulders of giants. All those decisions lead us to this big moment of now here we are in the world today, alhamdulillah, So I mean, it's an understanding that we lack within ourselves, and it's just something that it was my hope that in this video I will cover these details and topics. I'll go through one event, one chain of events that existed in the Islamic history, and convey that to hopefully arouse your guys' curiosity and make you guys understand one significant portion of our history, where we basically collided with other civilizations and cultures and empires, and how that played out, and how that impacted the world that we are in today. So yeah, I mean, in the context of the last 50, 60 years, when we think about it, we wonder that, things are going bad, it's kind of like a downhill ride, or, sometimes we do wonder, personally myself, I wonder that, is this the end, is this it, where, it's all going to implode on itself or something. So yeah, I mean, when we look about it like that, yeah, of course we wonder and think, okay, yeah, this is the end, this is it. But we got to understand, like I said earlier, we have fought more than 1400 years of history, and when you put it in that perspective, the answer is a bit more nuanced as to how as to how the future is going to go, how our present is going to go. So the event that I'm going to talk about today is the specific invasion, or you could call it the initial invasion of the Mongol invasion of the Levant, the area which encompasses Mesopotamia, Syria, Persia, as it was known then. So the chain of events that I'm going to be talking about today starts in the 13th century AD, where an event happened where the borders of the Mongols came and met the borders of the Khwarezmian Empire. Now, the Khwarezmian Empire, for perspective, was an empire which ruled parts of Persia, Central Asia, and a modern day Afghanistan. At that, for what the region is for us, they controlled and ruled over those parts back then. So the stories goes, in 1218, the Western Liao Empire was conquered by the Mongols, and their borders then extended to the Khwarezmian Empire. Genghis Khan, at that time, sent a trade caravan to the Khwarezmian Empire's ruler with gifts, Shah Muhammad II. However, Shah Muhammad II accused the caravan merchants of being spies and imprisoned them. Genghis Khan, in reply, sent 3 ambassadors to him and saying, hey, let's negotiate this and possibly release the prisoners. However, Shah Muhammad II imprisoned them and executed them. In Mongol culture, the rules of hospitality were sacred. And with this act, Shah Muhammad II had basically effectively declared war. The Genghis Khan set an army together of 100,000 people, and the Khwarezmian army in total was roughly around 60,000. What followed from 1219 to 1221 was the conquest and destruction of the Khwarezmian Empire. Areas of Central Asia, which included the cities of Bukhara and Samarkand, were destroyed. These were centers of learning and trade. They were part of the Silk Route or the Silk Road of their time, and these were prosperous cities for their time. To give you perspective, these cities had become hubs of learning. Imam Bukhari came from the city of Bukhara, so that just gives you perspective on like how vital and influential these cities were. Like, a lot of scholars came, and when the destruction of this region happened, this region was set back. They lost all this knowledge and information, and they lost the resources that they had built up over these decades, if not centuries. In 1236, Ogodai Khan is the ruler of the Mongol Empire, and he orders these raids into further deep into the Levant or the Middle East. Their primary target at that time being the city of Erbil in modern-day northern Iraq. However, Al-Mustansir Billah, he was the caliph of the Abbasid Caliphate from 1226 to 1242. And he was successful in defending against these Mongol raids. He prevented the capture of Erbil and so on and so forth. However, in 1241, the Abbasid Caliphate started paying tribute to the Mongols to prevent them from carrying out further raids within their territory. Guyuk Khan, that comes to power in 1246, from 1246 to 1251, he demands full submission from the Abbasid Caliphate to him. However, he's declined. In 1251, Möngke Khan comes to power, and he decides that the area of Mesopotamia, Syria, and Persia needs to finally come completely under Mongol control. He orders an invasion to be prepared and launched under his younger brother Hulagu Khan. Hulagu Khan launches his invasion in 1256, and he subdues the Nizari states first, and then he starts moving deep into the Abbasid Caliphate's territory. By this time, Al-Mustansir Billah has passed away, and his son Al-Mustasim Billah has taken over, and now he's the caliph of the Abbasid Caliphate. Al-Mustasim was slow to prepare the defenses and raise a force for defending against the Mongols. As a result of it, this army that he raised, while roughly 50,000 strong, was not properly equipped. However, he did have a cavalry force of 20,000. In January 1258, the Mongols start the siege of Baghdad. At that stage, Al-Mustasim orders his cavalry force to go out there and confront the Mongols and attack them. As this cavalry force comes out, Baghdad is situated by the river Tigris. So there are these canals that are coming out from the river that have been built. As this cavalry force proceeds to confront the Mongols, to set out for battle in open field to fight the Mongols, the Mongol engineers destroy these canals, flooding the area and basically washing away this cavalry force. The remnants that remain are killed by the Mongol army. The defense continues of the city. However, it was really demoralizing for the defenders. It must have been really demoralizing for the defenders to watch their cavalry force defeated. In February, the city surrenders. Baghdad surrenders. Al-Mustasim is captured, and the city is completely destroyed and plundered and looted. I mean, the Mongol army is already infamous for the atrocities they committed and the destruction they wrought everywhere they went. The House of Wisdom was destroyed, which for its time, according to some sources, even was like the largest library of its time in the world at that time, was completely destroyed. Irrigation canals were destroyed. The soil where crops could be grown were salted to ensure that it wouldn't grow again. And I mean, the canals were not repaired, so basically irrigation infrastructure was destroyed in the area. One story goes that a Mongol warrior came across the street and he saw 40 babies. Their parents had been killed and they were starving, and then they were crying. Taking mercy upon them, he proceeded to go ahead and kill all those babies to avoid them the fate that they would have gotten by continuing to starve to death. So, I mean, the story and other sources also go as far as to say that first the Tigris turned red with blood, and then they say then the Tigris turned black with the ink, because with the sheer amount of books that the Mongols threw away in the river, all that knowledge lost and destroyed and burned, and all those lives taken. I mean, they say the attack on Baghdad alone at least took 100,000 lives, with some sources even putting it as high as 500,000. As for Al-Mustasim, he was imprisoned by Hulagu Khan, and he was starved. Later on, Hulagu Khan sees him, and Al-Mustasim asks Hulagu, "Can I have some food?" And Al-Mustasim tosses him a coin of gold and says, "Eat the gold." And Al-Mustasim says, "I can't eat the gold." Hulagu Khan says, "Well, if you couldn't eat the gold, then why didn't you put this money back in your people? Why didn't you raise your armies? Why didn't you raise your city defenses? I mean, yeah, this is the end that you get." So now this is where stories diverge on what is the eventual end of Al-Mustasim. Some say that he was locked up back again and then he died in February, within February, of starvation and thirst. Some sources say that the Mongols were superstitious about killing the caliph. Their fear was that if they killed the caliph and if his blood spilled on the ground, some bad things would follow. However, after talking to the advisors, they were like, we can kill him because there have been other notable personalities and leaders that have gone away. However, the story that comes from here, it points to the fact that what they did was that they rolled up al-Mustasim in a carpet and had it trampled by horses in order to kill him. However, the more widely accepted story is that eventually they killed him. They executed him normally, but they executed him properly. They didn't wrap him up in carpet, or they had him starve out in a chamber or anything. So I mean, that was the sack of Baghdad. It marked the end of the Abbasid Caliphate, and now in the next, this happened in February 1258. For the next 2 years, the Mongols will basically attack Syria and capture Damascus and destroy Damascus, going as far as Gaza, and stationing their army and troops in Gaza by the end, or by 1260. So, I mean, imagine the atmosphere at that time that the people would have felt and thought of. I mean, the Khalifa of the time has been killed in a brutal fashion, and you have seen entire city razed, a city which was known for its wealth and prosperity at its time, for its being a center of learning, and it's completely destroyed and gone now. And then as you flee further towards west, you keep hearing these stories of an ever approaching army, which is only a matter of time before they eventually approach you and destroy you. I mean, they seem unstoppable, and you have never really heard of anyone who's been able to stop them. So imagine that atmosphere, knowing the stories that were coming from the people that survived their onslaught and their devastation that was left over the area. I mean, imagine the mind these people would have had, the sheer fear they would have had. I mean, for them it wouldn't have been short. I mean, for them it would have been the end of the world. They would have felt. But here we are. We're sitting here in 2020. These events happened in 1258. As for the fate of what happens to the eventual seemingly endless Mongol conquest, that's something that we would have to, that's a story probably for another time, if I get a chance to do another video. But here's the takeaway from it. I mean, this is a story that I've read over a lot of years, and what's the moral for it? What's the point of me telling you this story, telling this chapter from history, this event from history that happened in Islamic history? See, the thing is, the deen is going to continue, whether we become a part of it or not. Allah has given each one of us an ability, a qabiliyah. It is up to us if we want to use that ability to serve the ummah, serve humanity, and serve the deen. So, it's for us to, whether we choose to become a part of this journey or not. In conclusion, I would also like to talk about a book called The Saviors of Islamic Spirit by Sheikh Abul Hassan Ali Hassan Nadwi, who wrote a book which basically takes certain events of Islamic history, or takes certain personalities of Islamic history, the notable ones like Imam Hassan al-Basri, Salahuddin Ayyubi, and the Tatar invasion, which is the Mongol invasion of the Levant and the Middle East. The book details to you all these personalities, their story and history, and tells you, it gives you hope and teaches you Islamic history in the same process. So I mean, that's all I have to say, and that's for me. Jazakallah khair for giving me this opportunity and for listening to the video and making it so far, if you have. Check the sources in the description that I've utilized for the video. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, drop it down in the comment section below and let us know. Like and subscribe, guys. Take care. Stay safe. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum. I would like to thank the Muslim Association for giving me this opportunity to come here and speak. I also want to thank all the individuals in the Muslim Association that are making these videos possible. The amount of time they spend recording them, editing them, making them, and posting them. I mean, these guys are doing an amazing job, dedicating the time. They're making the best of the situation that they have right now with them. So I just want to give a shout out and recognition to these guys. These guys are doing amazing jobs. You guys are heroes. You know, like, you guys are the people behind the camera that we don't get to see, and these are the ones that are making this possible, spreading the word out there. So yeah, I just want to do that.